Have you ever wondered about the way we interact with narratives, either in computer games where you have a mouse, controller, or keyboard to work with, or a movie where you have absolutely nothing to really interact with? But usually, these narratives are more or less set in stone. But what I'm about to show you is the product of a lot of hard work by a group of hardworking students who are currently trying to do a way of an interactive, adaptive narrative. But let's actually hear about it from one of the developers, right here. Oh, well, maybe it's better if we just go to a voiceover. He looks a bit too stressed.
Thank you, John. Detective's Perspective is the culmination of months of research and development to create an adaptive narrative wherein the user can change the story through the way they blink within the scenes, shaping the narrative to fit the individual user. This has the purpose of testing whether or not this experience has an effect on the blinking of the user. This experience tells the story of Detective Cunningham, one of the best detectives in the precinct who faces the challenge of major budget cuts and overwork at the office. This puts Cunningham in the position of having to choose. Will they focus on spending time with their family, possibly jeopardizing their career? Or will they focus on their work, catching up with increasing demands at the expense of creating a distance between them and their family? This is where the adaptation through the user interaction comes in, as the blinking of the user will determine which route the story will go.
Wow, what an experience! But how does that thing even come to be?
I was getting to that. Stop talking!
Sorry.
The project idea was inspired by a game known as Before Your Eyes, a similar concept in which, as the user blinked, life was, well, flashing before your eyes. This gave way to the base concept of a narrative that changes through blinking as interaction, and through a lot of brainstorming, this evolved into the concept of a branching narrative that adapts according to when the user blinks. For the testing, after a quick consent form and pre-questionnaire, the participants' eye aspect ratio, or EAR, was measured through image processing, at which point they watched a short nature documentary in order to get an average baseline blink rate. Once the calibration was done, the participants went through Detective's Perspective and finally answered a questionnaire to rate their experience. As for the results of these tests, there seemed to be a general tendency for the participants' blink rate to decrease, which went against the group's expectations based on the analysis, something which could have been due to the little time most participants spent testing the narrative experience. The group did run into some troubles in this project though, mainly in terms of the design and testing of the application. The image processing, which facilitated the blink detection, has some issues depending on whether the user had glasses, a beard, even certain eye shapes and lighting conditions had an effect. During testing, many of the participants blinked through the experience quite quickly, skipping past much of the story, leaving the participants confused about the storyline. Interestingly, the developers of Before Your Eyes had a talk discussing the bumps and pitfalls in their development, which lined up a surprising amount with the project. The group, however, wasn't able to use this talk to optimize their project, as the talk was published only a little over a week before testing the experience. In the end, it was possible to prove there was a significant difference between the participants' normal blinking and their blinking during the experiment. Additionally, the participants seemed to generally find the experience interesting, showing genuine interest in this form of interaction. And while they experienced tiredness and eye strain, the degree to which they did and how much it differed from watching a normal video remains uncertain though. Thus, despite a bumpy road, group was able to provide answers to their final problem statement. How can blink-based interaction in an adaptive digital narrative affect a user's experience, eye fatigue, and strain?